do practice, and they're going to give their speeches for us. And please keep an ear on what they're saying, and at the end of this process, once they finish their speeches, if you have a few moments of encouragement, please write down some notes of encouragement, and also some ways for them to improve. We had two speakers today, Aziz and Vincent. I had an opportunity to look at their bios. I'm really stoked about them. They both seems and sound like really great people. We're going to start with Aziz today. He's actually a business coach. And this subject that he's going to talk about is a subject of a great passion of mine. So I'm really looking forward to it. Title of his speech, this is his 7th speech, Researching Your Subject. Oh, I'm sorry, Researching Your Topic. And his title of his speech is Slow and Steady Wins the Race, the Kaizen Technology.
Technique.
I'm sorry, Kaizen Technique, sorry. Would you please put your hands together and bring Aziz to the
So how's everybody doing? Slow and steady wins the race. When I was a kid growing up, that was always one of my favorite fables. If anybody doesn't know what that is, it's that old fable about the tortoise and the hare. Okay, how the tortoise and the hare have a race. And the hare says, oh man, I can beat this tortoise any day. So he takes off and runs, grabs a big lead. And the tortoise just walks very slowly, step by step. Eventually the hare gets way ahead, but gets tired, and goes to sleep under a tree. And the tortoise, who is walking steadily behind him, ends up passing him and ends up winning the race. And the moral of the story was, slow and steady wins the race. Now, about 10 years ago, I decided to become a business coach. When I tell people that I'm a business coach, they say to me, well, what is that? Is that like a life coach? Is that like a consultant? What exactly is a business coach? And I like to tell them that a business coach is like a life coach, but I counsel people on their businesses. And I specialize in small businesses. I talk to people about how to start a business, how to advance their business. If they're having a problem with some aspect of their business, I move in and try to help them fix their problem. And one of the things that I use, one of the techniques that I use to try to help people out is a technique known as, hope you can see this, Kaizen. Okay? Now, I hate to be speaking to you guys from behind, but you can get the point. Okay, Kaizen. Now, Kaizen is a Japanese term, okay? And it means achieving great success through small and steady steps. It came about during World War II, or right after World War II. What happened was Japan was recovering from the war and trying to build its infrastructure and build its industries. American businessmen went down there and tried to teach them ways in which they could develop their businesses. Now, the American businessmen at that time, they had a different way of doing things than what we're normally used to. As Americans, we're known as innovators. Okay? Innovation in the business sense means dramatic change. We believe in dramatic change. So we'll build a car. We'll build some great technology that brings about fast and rapid change. So as Americans, we're innovators. But at the time, because of the war effort at home, we could not be innovators in our industries because all these housewives had come in and they needed to be taught how to work in these factories so they could produce weapons for the war. So we had to teach them really fast. So what we basically did was we broke industry down into increments, into the smallest possible increments. Okay? So the people who went to train the Japanese used the same technique as the Japanese. They told them instead of having this big dream, what we're going to do is we're going to break your industry down into the smallest possible increments. Which means anybody who has any say in how to make their job better is included. So how would you use that technique in my coaching practice? For instance, if I had someone come to me and they say they're having a hard time working on a project, okay? my first instinct to them would be, well, okay, how much time do you have to devote to this project? And he'd say, well, I just don't have any time, I have maybe a half hour. And I said, well, you have a half hour you can work on this project? And they say, yes. And they say, no. And I say, well, do you have 15 minutes you can work on this project? They say, well, I don't know, I still don't have time for that. And I say, well, do you have 10 minutes that you can work on this project? Well, I don't know, I still don't have time. Do you have 5 minutes that you can work on this project? The aim is to keep breaking the issue down so that they are no longer worried about the issue that they're procrastinating about, okay? I have gone as far as 1 minute when talking to a client about a project. Do you have 1 minute that you could spend every day working on this project? Yeah, I think I can spare a minute. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to, again, get them past the fear of innovation, the fear of change, into something that's steady, that they can work through, that they can develop on their own and start at a starting point. The main issue is getting started, okay? I've worked with people who wanted to write a book or write a manual, business manual. And they've said to me, well, I can't seem to start this manual. I don't know what I can do about it. I just can't seem to get this block out of my head. And I said, well, can you write a paragraph a day of this manual? Well, no, I don't have time for that. Can you write a sentence? Yeah, I think so. Well, can you write a word? And I'm prepared to go down to, can you write a letter? Can you sit at your desk and put a piece of paper in front of you? Because what that does is it puts the idea in your head. I actually had someone once, I had him go, I want you to write a word a day to get your project started. We're writing a book. And he literally put it once the first day. The second day he came back, upon. The third day, a. The fourth day, time. And after the fourth day, I looked at him on the fifth day and I said, well, what do you have in front of you? And he said, once upon a time. And just the fact that he had a sentence in front of him, and the fact that he'd been thinking about it all this time, allowed him to move forward and start the project and get it going. You can also use the Kaizen technique in different ways as far as personal growth. If you want to exercise, for instance, I would ask you, how much time do you have to exercise? Well, I just don't have enough time to exercise. Well, can you spare a minute of exercise? I don't think so. Can you spare 30 seconds? Well, yeah, sure, I could do 30 seconds, but what am I going to do in 30 seconds? Well, why don't you stand up and do 2 jumping jacks? That's your goal, to do 2 jumping jacks a day for the next 3 days. And once again, after the third day, all of a sudden, the 2 jumping jacks, they're doing 3 jumping jacks. After the end of a week or 10 days, they're doing 10 jumping jacks. By the end of the month, they suddenly found time to do what they need to do. So what I would like you guys to do is, I would like you to consider some problem that you have right now and think of the smallest incremental step that you can take to try to fix your problem. For instance, if you have an issue with the wife or your spouse or your significant others, think of the smallest thing you can do today, right now, using Kaizen, to try to advance that situation and try to solve the problem that way. Thank you, folks.